Well, hello, leapers. Today I'll tell you, I've got to accomplish two things. One of them is a clean job. The other, however, it's not so clean. No, it's a dirty job. Yeah, dirty jobs, baby. The clean job, I got some new winch handle pockets. I'm going to put them in because the other ones, man, they were getting all scarred up and ugly, and the UV gets them in the yellow and blah, 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 blah. Oh boy. The dirty job, well, putting on a new toilet seat. Blah, 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 blah. Well, I'm here in La Cruz de Guanacaste. Beautiful La Cruz de Guanacaste, Mexico. Getting ready for the 2024 cruising season. Yeah. Well, there's really only about 2.5 more weeks before this cruising season's upon us. So, readiness, preparation, oh yeah, it's in full swing, baby. You can see where the old one was right here. We're just gonna put it right there. Well, Frog's Leap has 5 winches, 2 on the mast and 3 in the cockpit area. So I've got 2 of these winch handle pockets. Well, you saw the one in the cockpit. This is the one that I'm replacing on the mast. Well, sailors use winch handles to trim sails. By using the winch handle to turn the winch, they can either tighten or loosen the lines that are connected to the sails. And this adjustment helps optimize the shape and the angle of the sails for efficient sailing in different wind conditions. All right, let's see what this little screw down here has to say. I'm not impressed. Well, I think that looks pretty good. All right, shirts off for this next job. It's going to be a dirty one. Yeah, well, it seems like an easy job. You know, that lid's got a little broken piece there. The big knobby on the right, and then there's this little stubby on the left. Yeah. Well, I could live with that old toilet seat. The fact that that little bumper is broken doesn't bother me at all. But, you know, I figured if I bought a new toilet seat, not going to be able to film changing it out unless I get down and dirty and clean that bowl. So this is a deliberate action. I'm dressing the part. Well, that was rated TG. Too gross to film. Yeah. Well, at least now I'm in position to take this old seat off. It's just a cap. Okay. Okay, so maybe... There we go. Just gotta... Okay, there's one up. Yeah, the humidity here in Banderas Bay is no joke. Oh yeah, it's time to say goodbye to Mr. Nasty. Check out these fans. I got them blowing right at me. You guys will have to tell me. I don't know how loud it's going to be, but feels great. But my guess is they're going to be pretty loud. So we'll see if I record this way in the future. I think for right now I'm going to turn them off because I don't want to ruin this whatever this is. Oh, these come down very slowly. So these have these hinges back here that they don't actually want to be closed. Like if you left them on their own, they would pivot up like this. But of course, when they're closed, they're like this because of the weight of the lid here. So if it is left up and the boat heels over, I'll get a ka-clang, ka-clang, right? But with this thing, it's going to be quiet. So that's kind of nice. Just another, you think that's a small thing, but when you're out there and if you are lucky enough to be sailing, you know, big clanging noises get your attention for sure. So that's cool. But more importantly, you'll see the gap is even, right? I think it was this one. Yeah, if this were turned around, it'd be this one. Came off, and it's probably because of the fact that it was not a slow closing seat, right? So those things break. So this is going to make it nice and be a nice upgrade. Is what I experienced, because it's not a slow closing lid, is what I experienced normal? I'm thinking if you don't get the slow closing lid, you might be getting a quick breaking lid. Yeah. What are your thoughts about that? All right, I'm gonna put this thing back together. I was down working on that toilet. Well, actually, I was cleaning up afterwards and working in the sink, and I noticed there was a little bit of red on one of these towels, blood red. So I'm looking at my hands trying to figure out, hey, where is this blood coming? I couldn't find it. And I'm feeling my fingers like, okay, I never felt it. It was just a slice, like maybe a little less than a centimeter. And didn't feel any pain at all, and it wasn't bleeding a lot. And I think it's because I was sweating so much. It occurred to me, where the cut probably happened was on the hose clamp that leads into the toilet. So those can be sharp sometimes. So my guess is I cut myself in a pretty polluted environment. So right now this is prepared, I'm fine with it now, but I'm not really geared to handle broken legs, compound fractures, sucking chest wounds, crazy things like that, right? But this is one of those instances where I'm gonna share my thought process on this. This is just my opinion. I'm not trying to oversimplify it, but what I'm trying to say is when you're making compromises based on space, here's what I focus on, and I'm a solo sailor. We're gonna look at this injury. We know that it was a polluted environment. So the foundation of everything in my first aid kit is make sure you don't end up with a worse problem if you get an infection. So in this case, I have isopropyl alcohol. When I was irrigating the wound, and I don't just put a little bit on there. I mean, you irrigate it. You work the wound to where some of that isopropyl gets in there. If there's, bacteria or something that's going to cause problems, it's going to be attacked by your immune system. There's a response time to that. So you can nip it in the bud if you irrigate that sucker well. Irrigation, foundation of Rick's first aid kit. Yeah. And then from there, I just have a bunch of Band-Aids. It's so sweaty here. If you're counting on the Band-Aid to stick, also, you're on a boat. There's salt water. It's not going to stick. Wet environment. When I think Band-Aids, and I do have a ton of Band-Aids, I think of them as little bits of gauze with a little bit of sticky around the edge. The most important part is that sterile gauze. You put it right over the wound once it's irrigated. I have Neosporin in there too, so like if I felt like I needed to, but basically for me it's disinfect, clean bandage. The problem is that you've got this really wet environment, and that is why I love this stuff. Let me show you. So this is my keep it under the ladder, so it's really, really obvious to even if you didn't know anything about frog's leap, you'd be on here for about 30 seconds, you'll figure it out. But this stuff's right on top. Okay, so this is what you see. You know, so I have some random stuff. Okay, I have this thing's kind of random, but I thought, you know, it's possible you could end up with a broken finger. So, but mostly it's little band-aids that are, you know, I conceive of them as just the gauze. And then this thing is, I have several rolls of this. This is not the only roll I have. But this stuff is waterproof tape. Waterproof tape. Yeah, this stuff is... Because if you're going to look for that magic Band-Aid that's going to stick, good luck with that. I haven't found it. I put that Band-Aid on here, and now it holds... The tape goes around. The tape is actually not adhering to my skin, but it's adhering to itself. And it's holding with a little bit of tension, not enough to make me feel my heartbeat in my thumb, right? But with enough to hold the Band-Aid on there. You know, the goal is merely to stop infection.
Well, this episode contained one dude's opinion and should not be construed as medical advice. One dude's opinion. Come on.